G'day guys, welcome back to Beers and Break-Evens. We're going to continue with our positional analysis today. A big one, CTW. So much to touch on here. It is going to be huge. Once again, brought to you by Blue Wealth Property. They make investing in property easy for you. If you'd like to get in contact with Tony and the team, reach out to myself or Timmy. Tony's going to be joining us in a couple of weeks on an episode that's going to be really exciting. And Timmy, I guess I'll bring you in now because he has got the announcement of all announcements coming their way.
Yeah, it's a big one, mate. Tony's coming on to absolutely ambush me with yourself, so I'm taking annual leave that day, mate. Just putting it in now so you know, getting in nice and early. Big announcement. Yeah, Tony's he's looking after us, and it's a very exciting one for 2023.
Yeah, some of the prizes we've got for you guys this year, it's going to be pretty crazy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that essentially, unless you're winning overall SuperCoach, you're probably not going to do better than winning beers and break-even. So
wonder what it could be.
Wonder what it could be. You never know. We've also got weekly prizes, which we'll reveal over the next few weeks, but I think they're fucking unreal.
They're almost better.
I think they are almost better. They are almost better. So there'll be a little limited edition something coming the way of the weekly winner in the beers and break-evens comp. Obviously, we'll be on the hunt for zombie teams, so you have to be a legit side to win it. But prize is going to be fucking
no zombies
unreal.
in our group, mate.
Never. Never.
You're spotted, you're barred for life.
Yeah,
gone.
Outside of the 25 guru teams, none whatsoever. Also, guys, Bloke in a Bar, it is February 1st today. Kempy has got a massive sale tonight, 6 p.m. tonight, 50% off for 50 hours. Kempy is giving shit away on Bloke in a Bar.
He is, yeah.
He's
gone mad.
And some of the shirts he's bringing out, you would have seen them on Instagram the last few days. There's a Seinfeld theme shirt, Baywatch theme shirt. I've got Seinfeld on my eyes just quietly.
Yeah. Mate, if I didn't steal shit from his studio every time I walked out, I'd be all over that sale.
Mate, anything that makes the great Alex Twell look like a model, it's going to be a cracker. So make sure, guys, you're at Bloke in a Bar tonight, 6 p.m. I'm sure that stock will move very, very quickly as it is 50% off. So make sure you are there for the next 50 hours, which is just over 2 days. Just over. So make sure you get in there. Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Now,
mate, before we get into it, you're going to ask me how I am?
No, I don't care.
I'll see.
I've made that pretty fucking clear, I think, the last 2 years. So you're here for SuperCoach knowledge. And
how about what have I been up to?
What have you been up to, mate? Enlighten me.
Now that you mention it, mate, and bring it up sort of unannounced, I traditionally not a morning person. I hate the mornings. There's a few of us out there just don't do it well. That's why my voice normally goes early morning in the early morning pods. I got up this morning, had a bit of a dip, freshen up for the podcast. Didn't want to let you down, mate, as usual, and went to get a coffee, and who's sitting there but Cam Murray in all his glory. Sun was shining down on him, and I thought, good start to the day, Waiting for my coffee, Cody Walker rocks up. Sits down next to him, and I just sit there glaring over at him, trying not to be too obvious at it, and I just thought, today's going to be a good day, and even more so, it's going to be a good podcast. So,
mate, I actually ran into the boys after that, and they were telling me, you're not going to believe who was just here.
Yeah.
Tim Williams.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I actually went and sat in their seat after they left just to get the warmth.
Now, speaking of Cam Murray, we will be doing 2 RFs and front row forwards tomorrow, and Cam Murray, he's going to be front and centre as he always is. So stay tuned for that, guys. 3 p.m. Thursday. Going through 2 RFs and front row forwards. Now, mate, my chair, there was a slightly different groove in it this morning when I came in. The OG guru, I hear, was here last night.
The OG guru.
The pretender guru.
Tommy Sangster, I know, and that's it. And people, you've got your big following, guru this, guru that. I'm like, the OG guru, Tommy Sangster, was on the SC Playbook podcast. So it was really good to have the big fella on. Had a few good yarns about SuperCoach and getting trolled over the years. The poor bugger is the nicest bloke on the planet. He has the thickest skin and just cops it from all corners. Anytime there's ever something wrong with the SuperCoach scoring or some bloke should have got a try, he's there just straight to Tommy Sangster on Twitter and DMing him, and he just laughs it off. He goes, mate, I don't have as much say in this as people think he does. So, yeah, he was on the potty with Desi Creek, the 2019 champion. So, on YouTube, if anyone needs a look, we're launched that last week and been a good little bit of support. So, jump on and give us a subscription.
It's like when you order me from Wish, isn't it?
Very similar.
I'm the Wish Sangster, let's be honest here. Yeah, but I remember talking to him and Wilson Smith a couple of years ago about just some of the complaints they get. It's just next level.
It's all time, mate. Like that. People think people think Tommy Sangster is like Rupert Murdoch's right-hand man at News Corp and just pulls the strings. It's like, it doesn't quite run that way.
I had a bloke who messaged me the other day that his app was wigging out every time he signed in. It wasn't working.
Yeah.
It was saying he had the wrong password. He's like, hey, can you sort this out? And I was like, bro, you got the wrong password. Even if you didn't, what do you want me to do? Got nothing to do.
What can I do for you?
Yeah.
The amount of people out there that genuinely think Tommy of a Sunday night, like, emails into the blokes running Supercoach and telling him to give Cleary unicorn points and Cam Smith unicorn points just to bolster his score. It's like, if you've met the bloke, he loves Supercoach, but he's not going to go out of his way to do that and piss off everyone else.
Mate, I've legitimately heard people say you should own players that Tom Sangster has because he gets extra points.
Winning formula.
Wild. Fucking wild. Now, from one strategy of buying all of Tom Sangster's players to another one for CTWs today, mate. CTWs, obviously, so many options here. And, you know, a really common theme, and our first question comes from Riley Milton. He says, do we only own one gun CTW considering the cheapies this year? A lot of talk around last few weeks that so many cheapies at CTW. We're not convinced there is. What do you reckon? What's going to be your strategy this year? Obviously pending team list, but...
It changes everything. So the first thing that comes to mind is each year we try and start with cheapy CT dubs because it's a volatile position, but let's say you've got 7 players in your CT dub position, 2 of them, maybe 1 to 2 of them max might be guns. You can at least, based on fixtures, plug and play the ones with the best fixtures. But I don't know at this stage if they are emerging for us this season. If they do not emerge, we need to obviously hope that they drop in other positions. Now, there's a couple around hooker, the halves, fullbacks, and these are the positions that we want to load up on these high ceiling players. So you then start to go, all right, well, we really need a couple in the front row and back row, which there may be a couple, but that's also a lot of question marks over them. So if we don't get them at CT Dub, there's got to be cuts across your squad. And one that I don't want to do, but if we don't get them, it's probably going to have to be Nico Hines at 900k and go, all right, well, I can flip him to someone like Sam Walker and bank 400 grand or 300 grand and spend that across my CT Dub to make it solid and to find blokes that I think are, you know, that mid-tier that can still generate some cash for me and score okay. So, as I said, it's about a month till the season starts, a tick over, and hopefully we get there and we've got these CT Dubs locked in, but there's job security issues around all of them and they may not emerge.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues around a lot of these guys, and I guess, mate, it takes us to our second question comes from Ryan Westman. He says, are the fullbacks available in the CTW's must-haves? Now, we thought that we would just make this its own topic and just group all these guys together because I'm hearing a lot of people saying to me, oh, he's available at CTW, but he plays fullback. If they're not scoring points at fullback, who gives a fuck? That's my big worry with a lot of these guys, mate.
Yeah, exactly right. And people can probably be trapped in an old school line of thinking with Supercoach. You know, people out there that still think base stat forward to the way to go and the way to overall glory and that. It's not. It's about high ceiling players. And I suppose one train of thought is that fullbacks are much better scorers and, you know, wingers and centres are, you know, just ignore them. They don't mean anything. But we're seeing some of the best players in Supercoach nowadays being centres and wingers, in particular wingers on the end of strong backlines.
Yep.
So I think a fullback in a decent team that you can get as a jewel at CT Derby is like, okay, great. Happy to lock them in if they emerge. But the ones that we're looking at the moment, people like the Hammer playing for the Dolphins, I'm like, Tyrell Sloan at the Dragons. Are these teams going to put points on the board? Because they, as you mentioned, Guru, that they've still got to score well at their club. And I'm not convinced that those teams are going to have many points in them. And they've both got horrific bases. That's just to start with a couple of those dual positions.
Mate, we'll start with the Hammer because, bro, he's at 44% owned. That is ludicrous, in my opinion. I at no point this offseason have I considered starting with him, to be perfectly honest with you. He's at 330k, so his price is based at a 31-point average. In games that he played fullback last year for 80 minutes in a top 4 team, he averaged 41. He scored 2 tries in those 4 games. Bro, I'm not kidding in the fucking slightest. You could lose money on Hamisa.
Yeah.
Like, you 100% could. I cannot believe so many people are so high on him. They've got Tessie New at the club as well. I understand, like, it's a great asset for him, but outside of his speed, there isn't much in the career of Hamiso that has said to me, he's a fullback.
No.
I mean, is this Dolphins team, how many points are people expecting them to score in the early? They play the Roosters round 1.
I think that'd be 50-0 to the Roosters, so where does he get his points from then? Hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
Mate, I hope I'm wrong too, but he could go sub 10 points in round 1.
Yeah.
And I think that is a serious possibility.
He's 330k as well. Like, he's not even near bottom dollar, really.
His best game last year, he scored 64. He scored 2 tries.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand he's
For
quick,
a very
he's
good
a good
team.
footballer, but Supercoach-wise, and here's a classic example. Oh, he's playing fullback, though. So what?
Yeah.
He doesn't score points there.
He did that for the Cowboys, who finished 3rd on the ladder and almost made a grand final.
It's wild.
Yeah, so not for me, mate.
44% is outrageous. I would like to think that would drop, but, mate, if it goes up, it wouldn't surprise me because so many people are set on this whole idea of fullbacks are going to score so many points. You've got to look at the player.
Yeah. And the thing about it, if the Dolphins come out and surprise us all and Supercoach Wayne spreads his magic dust and they win a couple of early games and Hammer goes 80-80, sweet, I'll downgrade a mid-range or a gun who's underperforming to him and get him there. Even then, I'd still be nervous, but it's not like it's a 700k player where they're unattainable if they fire. It's like, well, sweet, I'll just pick him up.
Yeah. Mate, another one that a lot of people have asked about, and I think you've got some good numbers on him. One question comes from Dave Dawson. Is Meaney a get-on with Pappy out? Ryan Pappenhausen obviously not looking in the greatest nick at the moment. I'm not sure if you saw that Instagram reel the other day, but that first step really worried me a lot. All the other players were in their training singlets and whatnot. He had a jumper on, so it doesn't look like he's moving too much. I think the Pappy... I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him until round 8, 9. Could be further.
Yeah, possibly further.
Quite possibly. Like I was going to say Origin, but I wasn't sure if that was over the top, but I don't think it is.
No, not at all. He's worse for wear, the poor bugger,
So Nick Meaney, I mean, I would assume that he will play fullback. I think Munster is the better fullback, but I think it showed last year that they can't afford to not have him at 5'8". It ended up costing them. So I think that Meaney does jump into fullback. 643k, priced at a 61 average from last year. You got some numbers on him?
Yeah, so the numbers are pretty decent with him at fullback last season. In 11 games at fullback, he averaged 66.2. It's a little bit hard to gauge those numbers because that back end of the season where he was obviously named at 1 and he sort of played fullback, but him and Cam Munster had that sort of dual, that hybrid role, I suppose, 5'8 fullback. So will he be... I think if he has the sole fullback role, he'll be better and there'll be better point scoring in him. The thing that... And I don't think I can't see myself starting with him, I don't think, at the price just because there are so many good options, but... The Melbourne Storm, every chance they're a top 4 team again this season, stacks of points in them, a good draw to start the season. Eels round 1, very tough, into the Dogs, Titans and Tigers, but a goal-kicking fullback for the Melbourne Storm at CT Dub, like, he ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And look, I'll be perfect. I've never been a huge Nick Meaney fan, and I wasn't convinced when he went down there that he'd turn into this outstanding player. People said he played well last year, 100%, but I'm not completely convinced on him. I went and had a look at the numbers during the Origin period where he played fullback. 64 average across the Origin period. I mean, he's priced at a 61 average.
Yeah, but that's in a side without Cam Munster, Harry Grant, Felice Kafusi. He was missing half his side, so I see that and go, shit, don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think for 643k, when you look at the other guys you can get for a little bit cheaper, which we'll talk about later today, I don't think I will start with Meaney, to be honest with you. But we'll see how that all plays out as we get closer. Mate, another fullback that's been chucked around, Charlie Staines. Looks like he will line up at 1 for the West Tigers. The 3 years they've put into Dane Laurie wasn't worth it, apparently. So picked another player from the Panthers and chucked him at fullback. I find very bizarre. 378k based on a 36 average. Another one that I think people are expecting very big things out of. He had a 25 base stat average last year, and I thought that he really lifted the work that he was doing last year. The year before that, I thought, I don't know if this guy's going to make it in first grade. He's fast and that's it. But last year, he took his workload to another level, which is great to see. I think Dane Laurie's a really good player. He averaged 47 there. Charlie Staines, another one I'm not totally convinced on. I'm hoping the West Tigers do improve. If so, I can understand it, and I would rather you have Charlie Staines than Hamiso and a few other guys. Where do you sit on Staines?
Not keen at all.
Yep.
Did you say he had his ownership there?
His ownership, I'll get it for you. Keep going.
Yeah, so priced on a 36 average. I'm not convinced.
7%.
7%. And again, if he does get locked in at fullback, that'll probably grow before round one. But I don't know. He just doesn't seem like a SuperCoach relevant player to me. I want to say he's not the tackle busting type, but with speed and he's growing, he's building into his body a bit. There could be some tackle bust in him, so I shouldn't say no to that just yet. But he's going from the dual premiers, back-to-back premiers, to the Tigers, who are a bit of a wild card this year. We think they'll be significantly improved, but we haven't seen anything to say that they will yet, aside from the team that's been listed. 378k. Again, he's hardly a cheapie. I'm not keen on him at all, to be honest.
I would rather him than Hamiso, though. Would you agree with that?
I would, yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. As we said off the top, a lot of guys here that I think people are very hyped about, but I think there's a lot of things that you need to consider.
They do have a nice draw. So if they can start the season well, and they do fire early on, the fullback's going forward, he's got this platform to play off. They go Titans, Knights, Bulldogs, Storm, Broncos. So the first 3 rounds in particular are really nice, but not for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't know what a nice draw is for the Tigers yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to look like. They could still come out and be a fucking basket case.
Yeah.
All team lists and everything says they won't, but history tells me they might.
Yeah.
Realistically. Another one, mate, that Hayes Perham, arriving at the Canterbury Bulldogs, it looks like he will play fullback. Another guy that I think people are going to play fullback. Lock him in. Mate, he's based at a 35-point average. His base stats were sub 20 last year on average. He's going to need attacking stats. He's going to be at a new club. Another one that I don't know about. I don't think he's a terrible option, but 370k is a pretty good whack. When you go on sub 20 base stats, you're going to have to get attacking stats every week. Another one that I'm not totally... If he was 270k, completely different conversation. But 370k, if you're looking to make some coin off Hayes Perham, I don't know if you will.
Yeah, and that's it. Another example of a bloke, almost identical, isn't it? A bloke going from a gun team in the NRL Grand Finalist Parramatta over to the Dogs, who we think will be vastly improved. It's the exact same as the Tigers, but we have to see it first.
Yeah.
In 5 games, so first game of the season, played 12 minutes, 12 points, whatever. After that, in his 5 games, he scored 4 tries and still only averaged 39. So, that's obviously down a little bit from that game 1. I'll give him that. But moves to a better position in fullback if he does. But job security is going to be an issue. The doggies, how long it takes them to form combinations is going to be an issue. Awkward price. Just one that I don't think the risk is worth taking early on. It is like the boys we've mentioned prior, could easily lose money from his starting price. Again, if he comes out and goes whack and brains it, well, then we can buy him.
Yeah, good as gold.
Yeah, risk.
Fuck. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to start with so many of these guys, and their SuperCoach season's going to be over in round 4 because they've lost money.
I'll tell you the other issue with a few of these blokes around that 350k mark. If the cheapie scene is poor early on at CTW, we may not have blokes to downgrade them to. and then you're stuck there with someone at 310k. There's no one to move down to.
Yep.
There might be bugger all options to move up to, and you just leave yourself in a tricky place. So,
Mate, Tyrell Sloan, I love him as a footballer, but I'm about to tear him a new asshole in Supercoach. Mate, he is 16% over in ownership, and he's at 16%. He's got the bye round 1. You're relying on Hawk to pick the right team in round 2, 3, and 4. I'm not convinced he will. He's shown before that he doesn't have much confidence in Tyrell Sloan. If he doesn't get named in round 2, you've straight away off the bat wasted a trade off the bat. And, mate, I don't even think that's the biggest hurdle. He's at 298k, which means he's priced at a 28-point average, which should be achievable, right? At fullback last year, he had a 35-point average. So far in his career, it's a 35-point average at fullback. Last year he had a base stat average of 19. One of those games, he had 38 base stats in. You know how many points he scored in that game?
how many?
40. 38 in base and he scored 40.
38 in base.
If you take out that 38 base game, which is a huge outlier, his base stat average for last year was 15. He is not locked into this side. He is not a certainty to be there. In 2021, he had a 63-point average, which is fantastic from 5 games that he played at fullback. He scored 6 tries and averaged 63.
But Guru, what if the 10 games with 14 base, what if they were the outliers and the 38 base becomes the norm?
What if that 1 out of 5 was the norm? Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a look at... Also, in those 5 games that he scored 6 tries, 2 of them, the last 2 rounds, they played the Cowboys, who were pretty much wooden spooners at the time. The week after, they played South Sydney. This is the list of guys South Sydney rested that week. Latrell, Cody, Cook, Arrow, Burgess, AJ, Gagai, your coffee mate, Cam Murray. Mate, I cannot make sense of 16% ownership for Tyrell Sloan. He has no job security. He doesn't score Supercoach points regardless. He's priced at a 28-point average. I don't know if he scores 20. He has literally had games where he's scored a try and gone sub-30 on a few occasions. He's playing for the Dragons.
Gee, I'd give anything for Cam Murray to be my coffee mate. I don't even know what we're talking about. You just rattled me when you said that. Tyrell Sloan, I'm looking at... Put it this way. The cheapy CT dubs, and we may not have the luxury of picking ones from decent teams, but you're forced to play these blokes in your 17. You may be forced, I should say, to play them in your 17 each week, and they could pump out 10 or 15 points for you, and it just kills you. So I was like, at least if you get a centre or a winger for a decent team, you're like, there's every chance they cross over for a meat pie, and they might have terrible base, but it gets them to 40, 45. But if you have to play someone like Sloan or Hammer in your CTW, which... That's the other thing. If you're paying, $350 for them, there's every chance you will be playing them in your 17. So, you just have this sick feeling in your stomach going in round 1. Yes, there's attacking upside, but, again, the Dragons have to put points on the board, and I'm not convinced that they will. Another thing against him, while we think he'll be locked into the number 1 spot there at the Dragons, they have the bye in round 1. So we're not certain of the makeup of the team. He should be there. You'd be pretty confident. They have a good draw again. And like you said, it doesn't mean a lot if the team's no good. But Titans, Broncos, Sharks, Dolphins, Titans, Raiders, it is a really nice draw. Roosters, Bulldogs, Tigers. Great first 10 rounds. But not for me.
There is one team in that list I think they beat, and it's the Dolphins.
I'm with you. I'd back him in one of those games, but hopefully they can at least put 10, 15 points on the board.
I think you're mad to start with Tyrell Sloan.
Mad.
I really do. Fucking... He doesn't score points. He has no job security. He has a bye week 1.
Yeah.
At what point... tell me the upside. What's the upside to Tyrell Sloan?
Yeah, no, I'm not keen on him. I'll tell you the upside, seeing as though you asked so politely, mate. Bear with me. But it was that finish to the 2021 season where, I know, you just gave a bunch of...
I hope he plays a wooden spoon team in a reserve grade South Sydney this season.
But even in those, his 5 games...
No pressure on him in those games. Season's over.
Yeah. He's 3 games outside of that, 43, 55, 35, scored in each of them, but I don't know. I'm not buying him, so ask someone else.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't want to see people fall into this trap.
Yeah.
Fuck, if his scoring doesn't fuck you, if his price doesn't fuck you, you can put money on Hook's going to. And especially now that it looks like he's going to play Jack Bird at 5'8", that still leaves Mozambique floating around somewhere without a position.
Oh, God.
And you know what Hook's like. His job's on the line. He'll go for guys that he trusts.
You can just see him being 0 from 2 and buy a fullback, can't you? So
and people are saying, oh, yeah, but he's guaranteed the fullback. He was guaranteed it last year. He lasted 2 weeks. Yeah. I don't know. I can't see a world where I go with him. Let's go to the brighter side of things. Chance moving to the New Zealand Warriors. Obviously, one of your boys from the Canberra Raiders. A little bit more expensive, $327K, a 31-point average. In games that he played over 60 minutes last year, averaged 35. The 3 seasons before that, he's gone 57, 54, 49. I'm also not convinced he's locked into fullback. I know the Warriors are saying he is, but I just look at the way the Warriors defended last year. Their centres were leaking points like sieves. And I personally think I would be playing him at centre if I was in this team. So I think Chance is a better option than those other guys, but I don't think he's an absolute certainty to be a really good cheapie there.
Yeah, he's not in my team as it stands, but I like him more than most of the blokes we've mentioned around the same price bracket just because he's a worker. He has a crack. Like, put it this way, if he's at centre, I'm definitely not picking him, but he'll still go looking for ball. Like, he just loves it. If he's at fullback, okay, there'll be a decent enough case to be made. They start the season, the Warriors, Newcastle, Roosters, Cowboys, Doggies, Sharks, so which goes into the Knights, Cowboys, Storm, Roosters, Panthers. Oh, give the poor buggers a go, right? Like, they've just spent 2 years in Australia, 2.5 years in Australia. Give them a soft draw to start and get some confidence up.
Brutal.
So really tough draw. If he's at fullback, maybe. If he's at centre, not a chance.
And that's my worry, that he could move to centre. You've got Metcalf, who doesn't have a spot in that team as it stands right now. You've got young centres. It looks like they're not going to play near Corey in the centres too. So, look, it's going to be both hedges that are going to be leaking points. I just think Chance could find himself there.
And there's not a lot of attacking upside to him. Like, he, in his better years in SuperCoach, for starters, he was starting with the Raiders, but they were firing and just putting on points for fun. He
averaged 57.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's a goer. Yeah. And he's a great clubman, but he's not a SuperCoach
There's not a lot of upside there.
Nah.
So yeah, if he's named fullback round 1 and we're lacking cheapies, I'll consider. But at this stage, there's better options.
And this sort of takes us back to, mate, like our strategy we said at the start, that, there's so many cheapies out there. You look at the top-owned cheapies at the moment. Number 1 at 44%, Hamiso. We hate him.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Chance. We're not huge on him. Number 3 is Paul Alamotti. Now that Jake Avrillo's not fullback, I don't think him or Skelton make the round 1 team. Number 4 is Jack Howarth. We don't know if he's going to make the team. Number 5 is Cam Piera from the Titans. I assume he's going to be in the team. It sounds like he will, and I think he will be a must-have. And then you got Hayes Perham at 6. At 7 is Tafare. I don't think he's going to be in the side. They said the other day, you were spot on, you and Aitken is going to play centre. They had their photo day yesterday. They sent Branko Lee down. I think he's going to be in the side. So I don't think he's in the side either. So of the top 7 most owned at the moment, and number 8 is Hayes Dunster. We also don't know if he's going to be in the side. So of the top 8 guys that are there at the moment, the only one I'm confident with is Cam Piera and Chance, who I know will be in the side, but I don't know if he's going to do well.
Yeah, it'll be
it's scary.
It'll be interesting if it is that slim pickings come round 1. There's going to be some big decisions to be made around your halves and your hooking positions where there are a few decent cheapies looming that I was happy to go against because I wanted to target the high upside players, but might be forced into it.
And just outside that top 10 is Tyrell Sloan at 12. Another one we're not confident on.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a few mirages getting around in the CTWs that I think people... It'll be evident in the trials, I think, when a lot of these guys, or round 1, a lot of these guys aren't picked, aren't named, etc. But yeah, it's going to be scary. So they are the centre wings that are playing fullback that a lot of people find very appealing. I guess while we're here, mate, we'll touch on some cheapies. Isaac Thompson, 336K, price and average of 32. He played 2 games last year, averaged 64 points, 28 base stats average. Very solid, very good footballer, passes the eye test. My only worry is that Tane Milne returns in round 3. I would keep Isaac Thompson, but I don't know what the South Sydney Rabbitohs are going to do.
Yeah, one that currently not plugged in my team, but you can certainly make a case for. Just because he's playing in a very good side. The Bunnies, we've spoken about, but have a horrific draw to start the season. But the difference is they're a good side themselves, so they can still put points on, especially when you've got Latrell Mitchell feeding you ball. 336k, as you said, he's not that jewel that we've just spoken about, but it's all right, can handle that, don't need that. So yeah, I don't mind Thompson. His game is conducive to SuperCoach scoring. So yeah, and I suppose the thing is, I know it's not something you want to be resting on or relying on, I should say, but if Milne does come in round 3, he's still probably only one injury away from being in that back line, so he's pretty close to the mark. I don't mind him. Again, at 336k, one you'd ideally avoid. He's also someone I wouldn't mind playing in my team each week.
Yes.
So there's a bit of reassurance there. Serious option.
Just another thing to consider with him as well. I've heard that Richie Kennar's having a fair few reps at right wing as well.
Right.
I would go with Isaac Thompson, but Kennar did have a great season in New South Wales Cup. When he did come in first grade, he did very well. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Hopefully Charity Shield gives us a little bit of an idea.
Hopefully, yeah.
The only thing is...
Well, Tane can play in that, I believe.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I'm like... Because Tane misses the first 2 rounds, whether they're going to play him in round 3 or not, they'll probably want to get time into him in that game, so it might not help that much.
You know, it would have been perfect. I think that if Tane would have played in that World Cup, if he didn't have that suspension, I think he would have played in the forwards for Fiji like he normally does.
Yeah.
And he does well there.
Yeah.
And I reckon South Sydney would have eventually shifted him to the bench off the back of that.
They could use it, couldn't they?
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, we'll have to see between Thompson, Kennar. The only thing about Kennar is, like... He'll be priced. I'm not sure if he's in the system at the moment, but priced on his average last year, if he gets the gig, he came in on AJ's wing and scored about 4 tries in 2 weeks or something. So he'll be really... So hopefully it is Isaac Thompson, but we've still got to overcome the Tane Milne speed bump. I'm going to fall on my sword here a little bit. Remus Smith. I'm not convinced on him.
Here we go.
I'm not convinced on him.
Here we go.
But once you have a look around the room and you have a look at the other CTWs sitting in the dark corners... Credit to you. He's just guaranteed a spot, isn't he? He's going to be playing rugby league.
Guru, fall on sword watch. What are we, episode 5 or 6? We're at about 6 for the opening to the season. So, mate, that's it. He might not be the biggest SuperCoach star in the world, but he's in one of the best teams in the competition. Outside some very, very good footballers with a soft draw to start the year. He's very cheap. Again, one that I'm relatively comfortable with to plug in my 17 on game day. Again, with the draw, round 1 against Parramatta, all right, maybe sit him that week, but the next few weeks, every chance he can jag a try or 2, ideally. But I think the stat we touched on the other week with my early team reveal was that he'd scored 1 try or something last year or the year before.
Yep.
And
Last year.
There has to be more tries incoming. So the fact that he averaged, not good, but without basically any attacking stats, there has to be an increase in that.
I hope so. Certainly, because I mean, mate, I'm looking at him now going, okay, compared to the other guys, is a better option. I still think he could average 40.
In which case, I haven't done the math, but maybe 100k
100k or so. Yeah.
At I wouldn't say worst case 40, but you'd hope he's not too much worse than that.
Well, I mean, he was 30 last year in a Melbourne Storm team, going pretty fucking well. So that's
in 69 minutes. So he had a game there. He played 39 minutes for 20 points. He played 11 minutes when he got injured for 7 points. So if we can stick him to 80-minute games, we said 1 try in that time and 1 try assist, which didn't have the line assist with it as well. So I like him.
Yeah, I like him more than I did a few weeks ago, but I'm still far from convinced. Mate, a guy that has caught my attention a little bit is Tommy Talau. Obviously, team list pending. I think he will start for the West Tigers. I'm happy to lock him for, I think, at least a 40-point average. I think he has got a bit of upside to him. It's Tommy Talau. You go back to 2021. Last time he played, he averaged 44 points across 80-minute games. For the love of God, you hope the Tigers improve to some extent. Tommy Talau at 301k, I like him.
Soft draw, big tick. Where do we see him slotting in the Tigers backline?
One of the centre spots, I think.
one of the centre spots. So alongside, who's the other centre for the Tigers? We're just both under the microscope there.
Shooting a complete blank.
They play Mamalo at centre this year, or wing,
Potentially, yeah.
or Asu Capeo.
It's a young...
Yeah, so it could be either edge. At the price, 300k, pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Should be some more upside in the Tigers. I probably don't think it matters too much which edge he's on in terms of Dewey or Brooks. I don't love it, but he's a decent price.
Yeah, I'd probably, if I could pick which side, I'd probably rather him on the left, I think. Just with the way that Dewey plays and whatnot, I'd probably rather him on the left, but... I
can also see Brooks just hitting Papali'i short every time.
Yeah, but I think off the back of that, I can see him picking up some attacking stats off Papali'i.
Yeah.
So, I think he will be in my side either way. I think he's one of the better money makers here, potentially.
What do you, as a percentage out of 100, what percent is there that he starts round 1, do you think?
Mate, I just think based on their squad, and I know they've been very high on him for a long time, I'm pretty confident he will. I've got him at, I'd be happy to say 80% that he starts. I think he will.
I don't mind Tommy Talau as a footballer. I've
He's
seen
handy.
I've seen a few Tigers fans sort of, and there might be a bit of flack about him on it, say no, like he's average, he's all hype and that, but he's still very young. He's had his injury troubles. I think he's worth investing in at least for a couple more years, so I don't mind him.
He's sitting at 9% ownership at the moment. I think that will definitely go up.
And I think obviously, if he gets named round 1, it'll skyrocket.
It'll skyrocket, yeah, 100%. Now, mate, I've got a couple of guys here that are all team list pending. We've spoken about a lot of them. We've spoken about Tommy Eisenhuth a few weeks ago. If he manages to land in that Storm back row, he could be interesting. I'm hearing that Trent Leroux is doing very well down there. Okay. He's a shot to get that spot. I can see there being someone from the Melbourne Storm that gets a spot, whether it's an Eli Katoa or whoever it is, but I've also just got a question mark. I mean, those Melbourne Storm boys on the edges, they've been so good for so long. They've never been fantastic in SuperCoach, realistically. And I know they're not high upside sort of guys, but I also wonder if whoever does win this edge spot, is it going to be 80 minutes realistically?
Because we'll assume Tarek will play 80.
Yeah, but there's like... I'm hearing
you can also go in the middle rotation.
Yeah.
So then you've got Loiero. How do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been trying for 2 years.
Yeah. We've got Loiero, we've got Eisenhuth, Jack Howarth,
Chan,
Elias Katoa. Lots of options, isn't there?
Plenty of options.
So just hope it's one of the cheapies where there's not too much risk in getting them in. But
I honestly, I don't even know who I want to win. I probably want Jack Howarth to win it, I guess.
Howarth is the one just because he's dirt cheap, he's dual, at his price, like his bottom dollar. So he wouldn't even need to play that many minutes to earn a bit of coin. Yeah.
In my mind, I would think that probably Tom Eisenhuth would be in front of Jack Howarth, just because of the consistency that he brings.
Yeah, bellyache, as we keep saying, sticks to his proven players.
And if Tom Eisenhuth does get it, he obviously is dual, 279k, so that's at about a 25, 26 point average. He's not a great SuperCoach scorer, though, at the end of the day. No. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that one plays out. You got Robert Jennings up at the... I wouldn't say the Gold Coast Dolphins, fuck me. The Dolphins. 267k, that's obviously team list pending. I don't know if I want wingers from the Dolphins, though.
I don't really want to touch a backline player from the Dolphins, to be honest. Ray Stone's in my side at the moment. He's cheap, we know he works, but there's a bit of chat that he doesn't get the starting spot. Probably have him anyway, but like, at least if they're getting belted, Ray Stone's hopefully playing 50 minutes and makes 50 tackles or something. But the backline players, I honestly think they're just going to be starved of opportunity. I really do. So, Tavare, Jennings, there's a few blokes there that if they're in my team, it'll be very reluctantly, and it'll be because there's a lack of cheapy CT dubs. Yeah.
One guy that I think could potentially emerge, I probably do think it's a little bit of a long shot, but Heimel Hunt at the Newcastle Knights. He's at 234k, so very cheap. Obviously, teamless Tuesday pending.
Very cheap.
Very cheap. So, and I think that if he's not in the starting side, I think he'll be the next man up as far as wingers go. So if there is an injury or something happens somewhere, or if the Knights spit the
Badman
dummy.
Best won't make it past half time.
You'd have to assume. So if there's a world where Tuala maybe ends up in the centres or something and Heimel Hunt can get a gig.
It's sort of, but sorry to cut you off, mate. It's sort of between Marzu, Tuala,
Marzu's here there too,
Tuala, and Hunt. So, but they're all relatively level peggings. They've gone Tuala over Hunt in the past.
Yep.
Marzu, enigma. Who bloody knows?
Oh, he's great in attack, but can Newcastle afford to have one
exactly.
edge?
So. Yeah, I sort of skimmed past him, but he's very cheap, and mate, he's every chance.
And as I said, he's a long shot, and he's not a tremendous footballer. But you go back to 2021, the last time he played, consistent first grade. Oh, he's solid, but he's not like a huge upside guy. He averaged 40 points in 80-minute games across 16 games, and he only scored 3 tries in that. So if he can just fall over the line 2 more times. Still, when you're at 234k, if you can average 40, and he does get through a fair bit of work, Heimel, to his credit, so he could be interesting.
It's the beauty of Supercoach, isn't it? And talking Supercoach, not direct NRL, you say, just a shit Supercoach player. They say, not having a go at his NRL, just a shit Supercoach player.
Just doesn't have output in it. Now, the 2 Canterbury boys who are very popular in ownership as well, Alamotti and Skelton, I don't think either of them start round 1 now. I think that if Averillo's not playing fullback, he'll have to be in the centres.
Yeah, he's got to be in there somewhere.
So I think both of these guys miss out round 1. Obviously, we'll wait for team lists. I think they'll go with Braden Burns. I'm not sure whether I would, but I think Canterbury will.
I've always been a low-key fan of Braden Burns. I think he goes all right.
Slowed down a lot in the last year.
I
used to be a big fan of him. But
can do a hammy.
Can do a hammy, and I think, I don't know, just from watching him last year, it looks to me like he's slowed down a lot, and I think he's a little bit hesitant now, which I can understand completely. But I still think they will back in Braden Burns because he, at his best, he's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a good footballer. So those two, I don't know. Tafaro, we already mentioned him. Branko came down in the Dolphins sent down 10 blokes. Branko was one of them. I hope not reading into it too much, but if I'm sending down 10 blokes to be on the front cover of the Dolphins for their first season, I'm sending down 10 blokes that are playing first grade.
They could sign Cam Munster and then Supercoach as a gift to the Dolphins, start him at 250k, and I still probably wouldn't pick him.
Wouldn't pick him. So I think Branko starts there. I had Branko on my podcast 3 years ago, and it was just after he came out of that Origin camp. You might remember he was named to make his debut game 1, and he got injured. So they pulled him out of he got injured in the warm-up, and he missed game 2. And then the game was on the Wednesday, and I think that was the year the game was on the Sunday afternoon. And he went into Wayne's offer. Wayne called him in on the Monday and said, do you think you can play? And he said, I'll be really 50-50, I don't know. And Wayne said, if you think you can play, I'm going to pick you at centre.
Yeah, right.
And guaranteed that to him. So, and he ended up playing.
Yeah.
Him and Edric on that edge did pretty well. So I think Wayne will go with Branko. I think he's always been a fan of him.
Take him there for a reason, obviously.
Yeah, obviously likes him. Whatever, like he's had an injury in the preseason, but I just think that Branko will be there, and Ewan Aitken will be the other centre by the sounds of it. Tafare probably misses out. He's also been named in this trial on the weekend, which I don't think is a great sign. Yeah, that he's been named with the other reserve graders. So,
and that's the thing with these Dolphins players. I'm just because there's an entirely new squad being put together. There's not 2 or 3 new combinations. Every combination is new, so that's why I'm so reluctant on them. But it doesn't mean they can't become relevant down the track. Someone like Ewan Aitken, who, if they start slow and take some time as expected to find their feet like it would any new club, someone like Ewan Aitken could drop a stack of cash, and then when hopefully they start to hit their gear mid-season, we go, all right, he could become a good pickup at a cheap price. So I'm not completely putting the line through Dolphins. It's just early in the season they concern me.
It'd be unreal if Aitken leaks a heap of cash early, and then they get a back row injury. He finds his way in there. That'd be very juicy. So fingers crossed. Tafare, I don't think he'll be there round 1. I think you'll see him at some point this year, but I think he'll be a tricky one as we go. Calm Pierre from the Gold Coast Titans, lightning quick at 200k. I think he's an absolute must-have if named. I think if he's named, he will probably be the highest owned player.
Yeah, you're a monster fan, aren't you?
I am, yeah. He's very good. Very, very good. If you haven't watched him play, he reminds me a lot, the way that he moves and everything, it reminds me a little bit of Xavier Savage. Yeah. Like he's got that sort of speed and that sort of movement. He's obviously playing on the wing at the Titans, so I don't know how much opportunity he'll get, but at 200k, it's a punt I'm willing to take. And if he just ends up in open space, it's over.
Sure.
It's done. Jack Howarth, we spoke about him. Now, another one, and he's not really, actually, we'll talk about him a little bit later. Another one that I want people to keep an eye on is at the Cowboys. They've got a number of guys missing early. There's a fella up there, Sadrugu, who is a CTW, but he's a back rower. He actually played lock for the Fijian side. Now, I'm not sure if you remember in the World Cup, their 13 was very good.
Yeah.
And it's this guy. He's up at the Cowboys. We don't know what's going on with Leilua. We've got Lukey, who's out till round 5 or round 6. There's another back row injury up there. Like, I've heard people talking that maybe Jack Goz might get a gig in this side to start the season.
Is it Mitch Dunn coming back from injury?
Mitch Dunn's coming back from injury. That's the other one. This guy, I wouldn't be surprised if he does get a bench spot for the first few weeks. And I think that once he shows what he can do, I think he's got the potential to stay in the side. So he is, 200k, bottom dollar. He'll come on in the forwards. He'll play centre wing, and he's got upside. He's a little smoky to keep an eye on, I think.
Yep. That's so many big preseason watch. These trials are going to be so telling.
The other one that people have got in their side is Bailey Hodgson. He's currently at 13%. With Lockie Miller signing yesterday, it's done, I think.
Scrap him.
He's got to go. I think the Jackson Hastings sat down here with James Graham a few weeks ago, and that podcast was a few weeks ago, and said that at the moment he's the front runner. That was obviously weeks before Miller had signed. So surely there isn't a world where the Newcastle Knights are signing Miller and not playing him at 1, right?
He'll be their number 1 round 1.
Yeah, without a doubt. What about the timing, by the way, of poor old Cade Dykes, the poor bastard?
Oh, can you believe it?
And this is why the questions, so many people sending me questions. God, the Sharks are assholes. Why don't they just release Miller?
That's why.
This is exactly fucking why. Unbelievable how that's played out. Mate, are there any other cheapies that you want to throw in there before we get to the big dogs?
Mate, I reckon we've got them pretty comprehensively there.
All right, now, obviously with a lot of these guys, we had them in our team a few weeks ago. We've spoken a lot about them. Brian To'o, 624k, priced at a 59 average. He's got a buy in round 3. We can deal with that. We still feel the same way about To'o?
Absolutely, mate. And I hope his ownership stays low because
20% now?
Yeah, I can't see him dropping out of my team before round 1. I suppose the only probably thing to touch on there, we expecting... And to be honest, I don't know if it's a benefit or not now with with William Kiko gone, but are we expecting him to play left edge with Taylor May out and Taruva on the right, or do you think they just stick to...
I don't know. I think there's a possibility of him jumping on there, but I also think that Taruva could quite easily jump on there. I've actually had a few people message me and say they consider, if Taruva's named, to go Taruva the first 2 weeks and then just wait until he eventually gets another gig, which I think is a little bit outthinking the room.
It crossed my mind as well, just because he's in a golden position and he's very cheap. But I'm just so happy to, if he plays first 2 rounds, scores well, which is every chance he does, and then there's an injury to an outside back and he gets his start, just pick him up when that happens.
Yeah.
Because there might not be an injury to round 12 and he just sits there and you're short a centre wing and
Joey Manu coming in at 801k, 76-point average last year, has a buy in round 4. He's currently 13% owned. I think that's pretty high for Joey Manu, considering the price.
Mate, he's so expensive. Just, it's something we sound like a broken record saying, but so many mouths to feed in this Roosters attacking unit. You now add Cheese in there as ball-running hooker. Joseph Suaalii is going to be that every bit more confident this season. He's suspected to be going on the left centre role inside Daniel Tupu. He could come out and go 40-40-40, Joey Manu, if things don't fall his way. So in saying that, the Dolphins game round 1, someone's going big there. Multiple people going big there. So that's a worry. But, yeah, it's a lot of money, mate.
It's a lot. And I think it'll be interesting this year with Joey Manu. Like, I just worry there's going to be games where they're scoring a stack of points, the Roosters, and Manu's just always around there, but might not be actually scoring those points. Right? Like, it could happen to him, could happen to Teddy. I also worry he scores so many points going out of dummy half. Him and Brandon Smith, they'll be throwing fists in the play the ball. Who's going to get into dummy half? That's my only other sort of worry with Manu. That's a lot of money, though.
And he could come out against the Dolphins round 1 and put on 150, and people at the 10% who start with him will go, we're geniuses. Well, from there, I'd still be like, it could still regress to 40, 50, 60 sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
like, he has to be scoring a lot to justify that price tag.
And just another thing on Joey Manu as well. I mean, and it's more so thinking long term. You have a look at the way the Roosters, their buys are structured this year. Unless he's rested, I don't think Teddy's going to miss a stack of footy during the Origin period. So I question how much you'll get that boost of Manu playing 6 games at fullback during the middle of the season. The weekly rubdown boys pointed out to me a few weeks ago that you have a look at the Roosters and where their buys are and everything. More so from a draft perspective, but they don't think Manu will play a stack of fullback in the middle of the season. So just something else to consider.
Yeah, here's a little... Let's get into the Roosters, touch on the Roosters back line, because did a bit of research around when Luke Keary made the move to the left edge to the, he put the 6 on his back. Not a lot changed, but Sammy Walker moved to the right, Keary went to the left. He did that, I believe, round 19 it might have been. After that, Manu went 101, and then he went 48, 52, 58, 85, 42 to end the season. So scoring dropped quite significantly with Keary on the left edge. Suoliti now goes to the left edge as well with Keary. My stat around Daniel Tupou, who I touched on him, he's in my side as it stands. 58 point per game average last season, good early season draw. Base 28 last year, which I think he can improve up to sort of close to the 32 the year before. When Keary came back in round 19, Tupou averaged 72.4. That's excluding, there was an injury game against the Storm when he was on 40 after 13 minutes. And we'll get to the back rows tomorrow, but it did wonders for Angus Crichton as well. So I wonder, and I may be wrong because it's a relatively small sample size, but how much Joey Manu gets impacted by Keary and Suoliti onto the left edge.
When I think about that left edge and the way that Manu's playing now, you're going to go Keary, Angus, Teddy, Manu, Suoliti, Tupou. They can't all fucking score Supercoach points. Something's got to give somewhere. I know you're high on Tupou. I'm a little bit worried that on a lot of strike plays, the ball has somehow got to get out of the hands of Manu and Suoliti to get to him.
I think you're overthinking this Manu, right? As a bloke who loves a roaming centre, he can't be he can be everywhere, but
He was last year, bro.
Yeah, but
Like, I'm not assuming it's what happened.
At times, but like the amount of names you just threw up on one left edge, there's no room. It'll be a shit show. And I
But it's
reckon,
what they did last year.
yeah, but they've also got Suoliti as opposed to Paul Momirovski or someone at left centre or Billy Smith last year. They've now got Brandon Smith, who's another attacking hooker. I do think that Manu will roam around, but I think he'll be more through the middle of the ruck. I don't think he'll be flying to the left side of the field as much as you think.
Okay. I'm just going off what they did last year, which is what they were doing.
Yeah. No, there's no need for it. It's too much. It'll be a shit show. As I said, he'll roam through the middle, but he's not going to be slotting into the backline movements every play, attacking the line on the left side. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you take him out of it,
There's still a lot.
I'm still worried about Daniel Tupou getting the ball off Suoliti.
Yeah.
That's my worry.
Yeah,
and I'm
I
also
know.
worried that, for years he's been this great kick target. If I'm, they'll kick more to the left edge, as you said off show before, but if I'm kicking on one of them, it's Suoliti 100%, who's one in against probably someone that's not a known jumper. I'm dropping it on that second rower's head every day of the week.
Yeah, or do them two just feast off it. And Matt, how good's it going to be kicking cross field, and whoever gets there first just jumps up and just taps back to the other one? Like, good luck defending that.
But in saying that, neither of them are known tap backers.
Yeah,
They just catch the fucking ball. They
When you-
get it, they don't need to.
yeah. When you're a metre above the other bloke's head and there's no contest for it, you just grab and just fall to the ground.
Yeah, and that's my worry
Yeah.
with Tupou now that Suoliti is there.
That doesn't worry me because they'll kick to the left edge like every time now. Like they'll set up plays to be the fifth tackle kicking to the left corner. The Suoliti at centre definitely an issue in terms of just passing. We saw in the World Cup he's got a bit of a passing game. He obviously wants to eventually become a fullback. Teddy loves his cutout ball and cutting out the centre. So I don't mind it. Like a lot of Tupou's tries come from Teddy cut out to Tupou.
Yep.
So I'm hoping Suoliti is the one who misses out there. At the same time, does he just tap Suoliti and go, mate, just run over the top of him?
And that's
Yeah.
what they used to do with Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
You're too big, you're
Yeah.
too strong.
And yeah, that's the concern. But on a 58-point average, I'm happy to chase the upside. And if he doesn't kill it early on, Tupu, I don't think he'll be that far off the mark.
Sorry, I make it sound like Tupu's going to be a train. I don't think he will. He's still a fantastic player.
Concern.
I think there's a lot of mouths to feed on that edges, and everyone's talking about that Roosters side. Like, everyone's going to they can't all score points.
Yeah, and at not a super expensive price by any means, but he is a genuine gun CTW in my opinion. You know, if he flops, well, I'll go down to hopefully one of maybe Hammer or Sloan or Chance or one of these blokes fires early on, and, you know, you cash in there.
Val Holmes, I've got him in my side. Did you have him in yours in the end or not?
Not at the moment, but I don't know what to do. Because
you don't not want to have him.
I don't not want to have him. So 4 tons last season, but he also had 8 scores under 50 and 5 scores under 41. So I'm like, could easily come out as a centre, and he is again another genuine roaming centre who plays almost more like a fullback at times. Could come out and go low, but with the Cowboys, in my opinion, probably the best draw. As we've said, they leave Queensland twice in the first 8 rounds. You know, he could go nuts and really hurt you early on. So
for sure.
I don't know. It's probably going to come down a little bit to the cheapie scene. And if there's some decent cheapies, all right, I'll go sweet. I can plug Val in there. But if there's not, you know, if you can cut him for a 500k CTW with a bit of upside, there's a lot of money to be saved there. So I don't know.
Ruben Garrick back on the wing, 742k. If Turbo is fit and firing, is always interesting. But do you want to spend 1.3 million on Garrick and Turbo if they're not going to be there round 2? And they might not be there round 1 with Turbo? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fair bit, and I don't know.
I also don't know what that edge is going to look like with Schuster.
Just Manly in general. I really want to see them play, how they come out. Is Tommy going to be as gung-ho as he has been in the past? Will he be a little bit tentative and try and ease off a touch? Probably not, but I just want to see Manly before really investing in, particularly in any backline players outside of Tommy Turbo, who's the exception, of course.
And he might be playing centre too, which in my opinion should hurt him.
Yeah.
But I thought it would hurt Val too.
The chat is that Sangster actually said on the podcast last night, fullback. He'll be fullback.
Who? Garrick will be?
Tommy Turbo.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. I mean...
Garrick.
Plays centre,
if he's at centre, that's a killer.
Yeah.
Line through.
Yeah. Campbell Graham, one of your boys, 664k. A lot cheaper than these guys. Yes, he's got the tough start, but... I don't know. South Sydney, they always seem to shape up. He's obviously on the right edge. You'd rather him be on the left, but 37 in base last year. He only scored 5 tries last season. He averaged 63. Oh, fuck, that's impressive. And, I mean... There's a lot of guys that are going to come back from this World Cup very confident. Campbell Graham has to be at the top of that list, right?
Yeah. I'm so heavy on the Bunnies' left edge for obvious reasons, because they're so dominant. They get so much ball. And Campbell Graham, as good as he is, just with the Bunnies' tough draw on the right edge, I can't see himself doing it. It's hard because I'd love to have seen a better sample size of him with Latrell Mitchell in the team and how that would have impacted him on the right edge, because 2 games last season with Latrell, so he got injured round 16 and didn't play into round 23, so that round 16, 17, that was a round out when Latrell came back. I think he came back round 17 against the Knights.
I think so, yeah.
2 games, round 23 and 24, scores of 75 and 32. Base was 30 in those 2 games, so yeah, I think I just want to see how he goes with Latrell in the team and get through a few of the tougher games and then look to pick him up a little bit later.
If something happens, and I don't think it will, but if something happens, he does land at left centre, he becomes very interesting all of a sudden.
Yeah, I
think I would just about have to find a way to get him.
I'd be happy to get him too. Yeah. And could happen.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
He chops and changes a fair bit.
Yeah.
So.
Now the next one, 627k, I'm very high on him, Isaac Tungo. I'm not going to spill my dribble on this once again.
Yeah.
I'll wait till the World Club Challenge, and then we've got evidence of what that edge is going to look like. We can touch on that after. Similar for Luke Garner. Thankfully, we have got that World Club Challenge for that edge, hookers, Cleary playing both. So we've got so much to look at in that game I can't wait for. Nofaluma. He's returned to the West Tigers, which surprises me, but at the same time it kind of doesn't. 24 base last year. He's had 3 years in a row where he's gone sub 30 in base now. He used to be, this base stat monster for us. Tigers, hopefully they improve. He's at 605k, not a bad price. Outside Adam Dwyer, who we know loves that cutout ball and finding him when it's on and when it's not. What are your thoughts on Noff?
Some people are really high on him, and you once again pinched my stat around the base, and what made him such a good supercoach for years was base stat beast at CTW.
Yep.
And that's why we locked him in. In a good or a bad team, it didn't matter. But we're starting to get a pretty serious sample size to suggest that his base has dropped off possibly forever, to the end of eternity. I don't know. So I don't really see the appeal. I think people are getting caught up in yesteryear a little bit. What was interesting was, and it's sort of hard to know what to make of these sorts of articles, but he came out, there's an article I think it was only yesterday where he said he basically lost interest in the game, and it happens to a lot of players. They have these years where so much pressure on an NRL player, time and time again, it becomes a lot, especially when you're at a club like the Tigers and you're putting in your all every single week and you just bust it. And he said he's reinvigorated. He said the Storm stint reinvigorated his joy for the game and for rugby league. So maybe he comes back, and off the back of that, he's running 25 times a game like he used to, and Dewey's putting it on a platter for him, and he's scoring tries. So I can see why people are interested, but for me, I want to see it first.
Yeah, I need to see it first. The other thing, mate, we don't know where John Bateman's going to end up. This is something I think people need to consider with Bateman. If he's on that right edge, what's his favourite play? Come under.
Yeah.
Head back against the grain.
All the time.
So I just wonder how much ball we'll be getting out there. And I think if Bateman does land there, you might see the Noff hands up quite a few times this year.
He will not pass Johnny Bateman.
No.
Nor should he.
Yeah. So, Noffaluma, not for me. Little pod play here. We spoke about the Cowboys, their good run. Murray Tuilagi. I know that you liked him last year. I think you described him last year as a guy that you pick and you just select when you play him, and he can be really good because they're the only scores that matter when you play him at the end of the day. Coming back of a World Cup, confident, 55 average last year. I think he can up that.
I think he definitely can. And obviously the comment about you picking and playing when you need to, so obviously back end of the season when you're stacked with guns. So early on, if you pick him, with the draw the Cowboys have got, you play him every week anyway, and there's the upside to him. So I like him as a pod play. I don't think I'll be doing it because there are others I like at a premium tier price that we've touched on, but concern is, I suppose, 7 scores under 35 last season. Can have a look and see where they came from. Maybe they were against weaker opposition in the sense that, maybe he does just beat up the shit teams, which, again, with their draw, sweet, pick him for 10 rounds, then sell him off before, potential origin. Don't mind him. Are you considering picking him or
no,
just a pod player?
Not for me, but I think that if you were going to go in, he's sub 600k and could score a stack of tries in the first few weeks. So it's a punt, but I can understand if you want to take it. Another gamble, mate. A lot of talk about in this preseason, obviously, Dom Young, averaged 52 last year. I've seen him in a few teams. I do wonder if he's getting picked in teams just because he's in people's faces at the moment. I think he's a tremendous player. I think he's great. I have a question mark over his ceiling. I went through his scores last year. It was a game where he scored 3 tries. He scored 106. He scored 2 tries, 79-80. 1 try, 56, 54, 52. I worry in that Newcastle side how much he's going to have to do to score points. He's obviously touring around the country and doing all these things at the moment. I just think there's better options around.
Yeah. I just think the hype train is in full flight at the moment on Dom Young, and he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He's a World Cup star and people are all around him. Yeah, he's a good footballer, but I don't know. I'm just not as convinced as every man and his dog is that says he's going to be the next best winger of all time, and people think he's just a freak. He could be. I know I could be wrong, but I just don't know. Not a chance I'm starting with him. The one thing that comes to mind is he plays left wing for the Knights.
He'll play left, yeah.
Outside KP at 5'8". That could be a gold mine.
And that's where, he could score a stack of tries, but he's going to have to score a stack of tries.
He will, yeah. Again, I'm not starting with him, but Do you think KP, will he play a trial or are they just going to wait till round
I
one?
don't think he will, but...
Yeah, so that's it. There's uncertainties, but... Yeah, that's a good spot to be at left edge.
Yeah, and I think that's what has people interested.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he goes and visits a couple more clubs. He pisses off Newcastle. They drop him. They play Heimel Hunt there.
Yeah.
That'd be ideal for us. That would be Christmas come fucking
And then
true.
Dom Young ends up on the left wing at like Penrith or South Sydney or the Roosters or someone awesome. Yeah, I don't know. And then I'll pick him.
Okay, 2 enigmas to finish. 2 of our favourite enigmas. Sifa Talakai. 635k, 60 average last year, coming off a career year. I will say this year he gets a full preseason at centre. There is talk that Teague Wilton could start on that edge. Whether he does or not remains to be seen. But if he does, Sifa becomes more appealing than he has. Because I personally think a lot of the issues that Sifa had last year was that him and Wade Graham weren't gelling. But him and Wilton were perfect together.
Yeah. Yeah. That hard line that Teague Wilton runs for him, it's the same theory as what you think will happen at Penrith with Luke Garner running the line and opening up the space for Tungo. Could be the same for Sifa, and he could have a field day. God, I love Wade Graham, but I'd just like to see Teague Wilton get a crack there and just see how that edge looks. Look, I won't be starting with Sifa, but I like him.
At some point, I'm bringing him in.
Yeah, he'll be in my team this year.
At some point, and if you can pick the right month, good God.
And that's it. Like outside of that enormous, the infamous man game where he was 150 at half time, you know, he didn't set the world alight for the rest of the season. But I just think, as you said, full preseason at centre, he'll be so fit. I think he's just scratching the surface. I assume he'll probably shed a bit of his bit of weight, making the permanent move to centre. Starting the season, Bunnies, Para, Raiders, Dragons, Warriors, Roosters. So pretty tough start to the year.
Yep.
First 3 rounds in particular. Yeah, not for me, but I can't wait to own him.
I can't wait to have this conversation in round 10.
Yeah,
We're looking at
people are like, I could never own him again and all that. You know, burnt too hard. I'm like, I can't wait to own Sifa.
Oh, mate. I mean, like, even at the back end of last year, like, he didn't look comfortable where he was. He was a little bit out of sorts. But he was still putting up decent Supercoach stats. Considering he was scoring no points or any, like no tries or anything.
So he scored 1 try after round 7.
Yep. That's all he scored
and
after that.
And had 2 try assists.
Yep. That's it.
Like, there's not a chance in the world that he doesn't up that.
Which is wild when you consider that stat you brought up on Monday about how many, try involvements Matt Moylan had on that edge. I just think Sifa's got so much more upside. Yeah. It's not even funny. And now, as you said, he gets a preseason as a centre with hopefully Wilton next to him.
Yeah. Sifa.
I'm getting more and more excited. Now, our last guy, and I've saved him for last because I know he's one that has hurt us both in the past.
Oh, don't do it.
I know he's cost you 45k, but he cost me a round 3 draft pick last year. Katoni Staggs. He's hurt both of us equally. Talk to me.
I don't know.
My first dot point is fucked if I know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, I'm the same. I know. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, we know he could come out and score tons in the first 5 games. He'd also come out and get 30s. I'm like, put simply, I want to see it first. I want to see more involvement. He came out and said that basically when he got injured in Origin 1 last year, he carried quite a serious shoulder injury the entire season, which explains a lot. If he didn't have it, would he have had more involvement? Not necessarily. So, mate,
But, like, he did that shoulder in Origin, didn't he? Fuck, you go, like... Do you remember the start of last year? I think we both start with him. I know I did. Did you start with him?
Yeah, I think I had him, like, the whole year.
Well, the first 4 weeks, he went 23, 32, 36, 38. And then the next 2 weeks, he played the Roosters and the Panthers, and we went, fuck, you got to sell him. I couldn't make it work, so I went, okay, I'm just going to have to swallow it, see how he goes. He went 108 and 102 against the 2 best teams in the competition. And then you went, okay, he's turned the corner. And then...
In Penrith.
Yeah. Then he had 3 sub-40 scores over the next 3 weeks. He's just... He is such a... I love him, and I think he's got so much ability, but he's one of the most frustrating footballers of all. I mean, you have a look at the last 8 weeks, he didn't score a try. Katoni fucking Staggs.
Yeah.
And granted, Brisbane, they'd fallen off a cliff and whatnot, but Mate, all you have to do is give him the ball.
Yeah.
It's not like it was because the edge was quiet. Selwyn Cobbo was scoring tries for fun. So I couldn't do it. I credit to any of you out there that have the balls to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's for us. As you said, we want to see it first.
Also, Brisbane are they're a bit of a basket case at the moment. How much is that going to impact their on-field performance? I love watching him so much, and I love Katoni Staggs, that if he comes out and brains it the first 3 weeks and just sends blokes over into row Z, I'll just sit there and froth it.
Yeah.
Like anyone should, because it's rugby league at its peak, but I can't do it, mate.
Yeah, and I mean, before 2022, his average over the years had gone 48, 59, 62, and dropped back down to 49. So
the only way I would be tempted, like genuinely tempted, is if he comes out in the trial games and he's right in that, he was injured last year and he wants this year to be his year. I mean, every place says that, don't they? But and he comes out and has 22 runs in a trial game and actively goes looking for the ball, and Brisbane find a way to utilise him better. But I don't think that'll happen.
The one big positive to Katoni's name, he played 23 games last year.
Really good.
Hasn't done that before, and considering he was injured throughout it and still played 23 games, positive signs there. But
hasn't done that before since 2019.
Yeah. So we still need to see that output realistically. Doesn't it feel like he's just been injury plagued forever though?
Yeah, he's had a tough run.
It hasn't even 2 years to be fair. You got a fair point there. Yeah. All right, guys, are we done? You sick of me?
I was never not sick of you, mate.
Never not. Guys, we will be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. We're going through the 2 RFs and the front row forwards. That'll be another big episode. Blue Wealth Property, guys, making investing in property easy for you. As we said off the top, if you would like to get in touch with Tony and the team, reach out to myself and Tim, or go to Blue Wealth Property. Bloke in a Bar tonight, 6 p.m. in only a few hours. If you're watching this pretty early, 6 p.m. tonight, 50% off for 50 hours. Kempy has got some unreal deals going there. So make sure you get to Bloke in a Bar tonight. Get your paws on some of those. And we will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. for 2 RFs and front row forwards.